Everyone, Dr. Suneel Dhand, internal medicine physician. So it did happen then. YouTube removed one of my videos, they censored it, they labeled it medical misinformation, and they threatened me with a ban on uploading future content. The particular video that they took offense to was this video up here, where I discussed an outbreak of COVID-19 in the US state of Massachusetts and the fact that 75% of people affected were fully vaccinated. This was a story which was widely reported across the media. The CDC themselves had even said this. This wasn't just me saying it. And I went over what happened scientifically and logically, and I encouraged open debate. And never mind the fact that I did actually conclude that the COVID-19 vaccines were showing efficacy in preventing more severe cases of COVID-19. That wasn't enough for the YouTube censors. My video was removed. So who exactly are these censors on YouTube who are deciding what is medical misinformation and deciding what information from a qualified physician is deemed inappropriate for YouTube? Are they 20-something-year-old people sitting in Silicon Valley with no scientific or medical training? But who are these people that stop doctors and scientists from discussing important issues? And we've seen a lot of weird things happen with censorship over the last 18 months or so. And it makes you wonder what exactly is going on. And people who are for open scientific debate have truly realized a juggernaut that we are up against here in trying to do so. I am a physician who always tries to think scientifically, and I'm always the first person to say that even everything I'm saying is not to be taken as gospel truth, because things can change very quickly in medicine or science. Everyone who is in our field has to have that humility. My detractors, on the other hand, are at the opposite end of the spectrum. They are what I call medical and scientific extremists. They are militants. They are my way or the highway people who refuse to understand that medicine and science is about rigorous open debate. For those of you who want to view that particular video on a different channel, feel free to go to my Odyssey channel where you can see the video. The link is down below. And tell me whether you think that anything that I say is not scientifically or logically sound. I will be happy to hear from you. The two issues that I'm very big on and I've talked about frequently in my previous videos are, number one, the issue of natural immunity to COVID-19. And a lot of people have a misconception that this means that you are against COVID-19 vaccine programs. Absolutely not. COVID-19 vaccines are extremely important as we get them out, especially to the most vulnerable people first. What I mean by natural immunity is that for people who have recovered from COVID-19 and they are demonstrating, if they've been unfortunate enough to suffer the illness, when they have recovered, if they are demonstrating on lab tests high levels of antibodies, the utility of the COVID-19 vaccine is highly questionable. This is a very gray area. And there's been a complete refusal from medical authorities to not only recognize this, but to almost deny that it exists. It is medical school 101. It is almost elementary school 101. You recover from an illness, in this case an infection obviously, and you will develop a degree of natural immunity and your own antibodies afterwards. And you can certainly debate how long those antibodies last for. That is a legitimate scientific debate. But to deny natural immunity is almost science denialism. If in the end we are going to get to quote-unquote herd immunity, it is very likely a scientific probability that it will be a combination of natural immunity and vaccinated immunity that is going to get society and the world there. The second issue that I am extremely big on is the fact that right now a handful of rich Western countries are hoarding COVID-19 vaccine supplies. There are hundreds of millions of poor and vulnerable people out there in different parts of the world, obviously mainly in impoverished countries, who are not going to get any opportunity to be offered the COVID-19 vaccine anytime soon. It's likely to be years. And while we in the West have the luxury of debating whether or not to vaccinate completely healthy 5-year-olds, a very low-risk group, against COVID-19, there are likely many people all across the world who will lose their lives in the meantime because they belong to these vulnerable groups and they live in poor and impoverished countries, while rich Western countries hoard their COVID-19 vaccine supplies. We should be getting vaccines out immediately to where they will help the most people the fastest. This is not only a strategic mistake, but also a moral mistake as well. I don't think history will judge us well for this at all. What we have seen with COVID-19 since the very beginning over the last 18 months is what happens in one part of the globe quickly spreads to another. And where, I ask you, is more likely to be a variant factory? The rural part of England or the United States, or those poor and impoverished countries where people live in terrible overcrowded conditions? And we have these vulnerable people who are going to get COVID-19 and get very sick from it. That is where more likely future variants are going to emerge and spread all across the world very fast. So I did contest this decision by YouTube, and they did reinstate my video, and they issued me with an apology, which is the least they could do. But the very fact that they removed it in the first place is something that should never have happened. And I cannot believe again that we are having this discussion in 2021 about censorship in a free, open, Western democratic country. A lot of blood has been spilled over the centuries by heroes to get us to this point where we are living in free and democratic countries where we can have open debate. So I do hope those of you who enjoy my videos will continue to do so either on YouTube or any other channels. I will not be silenced, I will not be censored, I will not be intimidated. I will continue to encourage open, logical, scientific debate and stand up for real medicine and science.